Good day. We are Group 3. I am Cedric Dumashan, joined by our group leader Pearl Bagajong and fellow members Enzo Ong, Sanjay Pinto, and Royal Salazar. Today, we are here to present our environmental case study of Japan, where we will explore the Japan's environmental challenges, strategies, and innovations in sustainability and ecological protection. For our table of contents, first we have the background information of Japan, second is the objectives, third is the natural environment, fourth is the status of environmental pollution, fifth is the pollution sources and human health, sixth is the key environmental agencies, 7 is the government efforts and policies. 8 is the government actions analysis. 9 is the technology and management recommendations. 10 is Japan's role in global environmental leadership. 11 is the climate change and natural disasters of Japan. And 12, we have the recommendation for sustainable development management. First, we have the background information. Let's have Sanjay Pinto.
Good day. I am Sanjay V. Pinto and I will discuss about the population in Japan. As of the latest figures, Japan's population stands at approximately 123,159,877. However, this number marks a decline, with an annual growth rate of negative 0.538%. When we break down the population by gender, we see that 48.758% are male, accounting for around 60 million, while 51.242% are female, totaling over 63 million. Historically, this decline has been ongoing. Back in 2015, Japan's population was 127,358,353, and by 2020, it had decreased to 126,574,852. This steady drop reflects both lower birth rates and an aging population. However, not all the data reflects decline. Japan recorded a net migration rate of 175,003 in 2023, suggesting that more people are choosing to move into the country than leave. This positive migration trend may offer some relief and opportunities to balance the demographic shift. In summary, while Japan continues to face challenges due to its declining and aging population, migration may play a key role in addressing these demographic concerns moving forward. As we shown in the first figure, it shows that Japan's population declined from 2016 to 2034, dropping from about 127 million to below 120 million. While in the second figure, it presents Japan's yearly population data from 2015 to 2024, showing a steady decline with the largest drop in 2021. For our next presenter, let's have Rael Boris.
Good day, everyone. I'm Andre Chester B. Salazar. Today, I'll be discussing the unique physical and human geography of Japan and how its interaction shapes the country's development, challenges, and innovations. Let's begin with physical geography. Japan is composed of four main lands. It's over 73% of its landmass covered by mountains. This rugged terrain significantly limits the space for agriculture and urban development. As a result, most of the people in the population is concentrated in the limited flatlands, particularly in coastal plains like the Kanto Plain. Japan's climate is also diverse, ranging from humid to continental in the north, such as Hokkaido, to subtropical in the south, like Okinawa. These climate differences influence where people live and what crops can be grown. Additionally, sits at the intersection of four tectonic plates, making it one of the most seismically active countries in the world. It's part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, which causes frequent earthquakes and volcanic activity. Events like the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami emphasize the country's vulnerability and the importance of disaster preparedness. Now, on to human geography. Because flatland is scarce, Japan's population is heavily concentrated in urban coastal regions, forming megaregions such as Tokyo, Yokohama, These areas have become a major centers of finance, technology, and culture. In contrast, mountainous areas are facing the population and aging populations, creating regional imbalances politically. Japan has transformed as well since the post-war era. There's been a growing emphasis on local autonomy and decentralized governance, respecting both domestic needs and international influences. Finally, let's look at the interactions between physical and human geography. Japan's experience with natural hazards has led to advanced disaster management systems, including early warning networks and strict building codes. Urban planning now routinely includes geographic risk assessment to ensure safety and resilience. Despite the geographic challenges, Japan has turned its limitations into strengths. With little arable land, the country adopted intensive farming methods like terracing, and its locations by the sea supports thriving fishing industry and international trade. This dynamic relationship between land and people is key to understanding Japan's sustainability, innovation, resilience in the face of environmental and social challenges. Thank you. Let's have Pearl.
Hi, I'm Pearl, and today I will discuss the economy of Japan. Japan remains the fourth largest economy in the world. Though it has faced slower growth in recent years, by 2024 its GDP was around $4 trillion with inflation rising to 3.6%. Despite high public debt, unemployment stayed low due to a stable labor system. Major sectors include automotive, electronics, and services. In the first quarters of 2025, Japan's economy contracted by 0.7% due to the reduced exports, increased imports, and lower consumption. Long-standing challenges such as an aging population and rigid labor practices continue to affect its competitiveness. Japan ranks in economic freedom with strong rule of law but limited labor and investment flexibility. Japan's government plays a key role in guiding its economy through the Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry. It has introduced reforms in privatization and deregulation while investing in innovation, infrastructure, and energy. Moving forward, Japan must balance its traditional system with modernization to ensure long term resilience. In conclusion, Japan remains a strong and resilient economy, but it continues to face serious structural challenges. This includes an aging population, low domestic consumption, and overdependence on exports. To achieve sustainable growth, Japan must pursue reforms that encourage innovation, increase labor flexibility, and stimulate private demand. Despite global uncertainties, Japan's economic system is still considered one of the most stable in the world, striking a balance between tradition and modernization. And for our next reporter, let's have Enzo O.
Thank you for that report, Pearl. Today I am going to report about human health. Introduction to Japan's healthcare system. Universal health insurance, implemented in 1961, provides citizens wide access to medical services with low cost payment funded through a social insurance system heavily subsidized by taxes. Equalization of health benefits. Early disparities in out-of-pocket payments between occupational and community settings. Government equalized OPP by subsidizing community-based insurers 50% of revenue. Economic stagnation from the 1990s strained government finances. Financial and demographic challenges. Aging population and decline in working age population increase pressure on insurance funds. Rising cases of chronic diseases and comorbidities demand healthcare system reforms. Dependency on deficit bonds resulted in national debt of $10.6 trillion in 2017. Quality of care and patient safety. Growing public concern over medical safety after a series of hospital incidents. Demand for transparency and quality assurance in healthcare. Shift towards disclosure of medical care standards. Aging population and social care needs. rise in single and elderly only households. So if you are single here in the Philippines, you could go to Japan because Japan have many single girls and boys, and they have receding population from 8.6% in 1975 to 27.1 in 2015. Introduction of long-term care insurance (LTCI) in 2000 to support elderly care. Health trends and achievements. In Japan, they have improved health indicators, which is falling mortality rates, rising life expectancy, shift from acute to chronic diseases, leading causes of death, cancer, heart disease, cerebrovascular disease. 2008 health checkup program targets prevention of metabolic syndrome. That is all for human health in Japan, and the next reporter will be Cedric Dumasian.
Good day. I am Cedric Dumashan and I'll be presenting the objectives. So, for our first objective, to describe the status of the environment and governance in the country of Japan. Next is to determine the key activities that contribute to environmental problems affecting the ecosystems and the human health. Lastly is to recommend needed actions in addressing the gaps on environmental health and management. Next, let's have natural environment. Here we will highlight the types of plants and animals present in Japan and examines the overall structure and function of the local ecosystem. So first, let's have plants. Japan is home to more than 7,000 plant species, many of which are found nowhere else in the world. These plants are not only admired for their beauty, but also deeply rooted in Japanese culture. And what makes them even more special is how well they grow in other parts of the world, making them popular in gardens far beyond Japan. Here are some notable native plants in Japan. First is the Hinoki cypress. It is the slow growing evergreen with golden foliage, perfect for compact gardens. Next is the Japanese snowbell, known for its bell shaped white or pale pink flowers that bloom in spring. The Japanese astilbe grows well in shady areas and moist soil, with beautiful fluffy pink plums, especially the Rainland variety. Next is the star magnolia is loved for its early spring white blooms and sweet fragrance. And lastly is the panicle hydrangea. Offers reliable late summer blooms, popular varieties including limelight, and the compact bobo. Some native plants hold deep culturally meaning. So here are the some example of famous and culturally significant plants in Japan. First is the sakura or cherry blossom. It is Japan's national flower. It symbolizes beauty and the fleeting nature of life. Next is the ume or Japanese plum blossom. It blooms early and stands for endurance and renewal. Next is the momiji or the Japanese maple. It is admired for its bright red and orange autumn leaves, and it is celebrated during momijigari or the leaf viewing. Next is the camellia or tsubaki. It is a flowering shrub associated with elegance and refinement, often seen in temples also. And lastly is the lotus, grows in temple ponds and stands for purity and spiritual awakening in Buddhism. So for our next presenter, let's have Rael Salazar.
Good day, everyone. I am Andre Chester Albi Salazar. Japan is a home to a wide range of unique and culturally significant wildlife. First, the red crowned crane is a powerful symbol of longevity in Japanese culture. Sadly, it's now endangered due to habitat loss. The Japanese salamander is a remarkable species, one of the largest amphibians in the world, and considered a living fossil. It relies on clean and undisturbed rivers. The Osiri black bear, found in the northern forests, is threatened by shrinking habitats and increasing encounters with humans. Silka deer. are considered sacred in Shinto beliefs, especially in Nara. However, their overpopulation has led to damage to native vegetation. The stellar sea lion is a vulnerable marine mammal suffering from food shortages and the impacts of climate change. The Japanese macaque is or snow monkey is famous for bathing in hot springs. Is highly adaptable and found across many regions. The Japanese pond turtle is one of the few turtle species endemic to Japan, but it is endangered due to habitat loss and competition from invasive species. The dugong is often associated with the mermaid legends. Is a peaceful marine herbivore now threatened by fishing activities and seagrass degradation. Green pheasant, Japan's national bird, is admired for its striking colors and call and lives commonly in forests and farmlands. Finally, the Amami rabbit is a rare, ancient, and native to Amami Islands. It faces a serious threat from habitat loss and invasive predators. Together, these animals reflect both Japan's rich biodiversity and urgent need for conservation. Thank you. Let's have Enzo.
Thank you, Ryle Boris, for that wonderful report. By the way, guys, good day. I am Enzo Ong, and today I am going to report about the ecosystems in Japan. One of the examples is the Hokkaido deciduous forest. Japan is a mountain and coast archipelago from subtropical to relatively cold north. Japan's coastline, mountains, and rivers provide diverse flora and fauna, some of which are found in Japan. The Hokkaido deciduous forest ecoregion belongs to the temperate broadleaf and mixed forest biome. The ecoregion occurs in the plains and low hills of Japanese island of Hokkaido. Next is the Honshu Alpine Conifer Forest. Honshu Alpine Conifer Forest ecoregion belongs to the biome of temperate coniferous forest. The ecoregion encompasses mountainous areas throughout the northeastern part of Honshu and the Oshima Peninsula in Hokkaido Island. The landscape is covered with spruce and fir vegetation that consists of Jesus spruce and wych fir. These trees are supported by the shrubs, mosses, and thicket undergrowth. The Sea of Okhotsk. The Sea of Okhotsk or ecoregion is ranked in the marine temperate northern Pacific biome. The ecoregion spans several islands dividing the sea from the Pacific Ocean and Japan's second largest island of Hokkaido. Though the northern part is comparatively shallow, some areas of the sea measure up to 1,500 meters in depth. Teheyo Evergreen Forest. Teheyo Evergreen Forest ecoregion is placed in the temperate broadleaf and mixed forest biome. The ecoregion occurs on the Pacific Ocean side of Honshu, Kyushu, and Shikoku Island, and it traverses a landscape of plains, hills, rivers, low mountains, and streams. Laurel webs and oak tree species predominate in the forest. The majority of the ecoregion has been degraded by agriculture and urbanization. Other ecoregions of Japan. The remaining of Japan's nine forest ecoregion include the Hokkaido Montane Conifer Forest, Nansei Island Subtropical Evergreen Forest, Nihonkai Evergreen Forest, Ogasawara Subtropical Moist Forest, and Teheyo Montane Deciduous Forest. The East China Sea, Kuroshu Current, Ogasawara Reefs, Oyashiro Current, Ryukyu Reefs, and the Sea of Japan are other marine ecoregions found in Japan. In its quest for industrialization, infrastructure, deforestation, and land use change for agriculture have all contributed negatively towards its ecoregion. That is all for my report in ecosystem, and the next reporter will be Cedric Dumasian for the status of environmental pollution. Thank you.
I'm Cedric Damashant, and let's discuss the status of environmental pollution in Japan.
Again, I am Sanjay and I will discuss about the air pollution in Japan. Today, I would like to present an overview of Japan's air quality status. a topic that remains vital not only to the country's environmental health but also to the well being of its people. Japan currently has an overall air quality index or AQI of 48, which falls under the good category, indicating that the air is generally safe to breathe. However, this national average conceals significant regional disparities. For instance, Kofu is identified as the most polluted city with an air quality index of 72, while Obihiro enjoys the cleanest air with an air quality index of 24. The primary contributors to air pollution in Japan include industrial emissions, vehicle exhaust, and transboundary pollution, especially from nearby countries. These pollutants become more pronounced under certain weather conditions that trap pollutants near the surface. Despite these challenges, Japan has made notable progress in improving its air quality over the past few decades. This improvement is largely due to stricter environmental regulations and the adoption of advanced emission reducing technologies. However, issues remain. The current concentration of fine particulate matter is still 1.7 times higher than the World Health Organization's recommended limit, posing serious health risks, particularly for children, the elderly, and people with pre existing medical conditions. As we shown in the figure, it shows that Japan's AQI levels, with several cities reporting moderate air quality. For our next presenter, let's have Cedric.
Good day, I'm Cedric Damashan and let's discuss water pollution. Despite Japan's rich water resources, water pollution has posed major environmental and health challenges. First, let's have the Lake Kasumigaura, Japan's second largest lake, suffers from eutrophication due to agricultural runoff and urban development. Even with dredging and phosphate bans, nutrient levels remain high. Next is the Tokyo Bay. Urban runoff and mixed sewer overflows have to lead to severe contamination. Ahead of the 2020 Olympics, underwater screens and storage tanks were built to manage E. coli levels, but the system still faces pressure from climate change and population growth. Next, the Ceto Inland Sea experienced heavy industrial pollution in the 1970s, but strict regulation cut pollution significantly. And still, habitat loss remains a concern. Next is the Yodo River, crucial for 14 million people, has long dealt with urban runoff and microplastics. Citizen-led monitoring and wetland offer hope, but for more support is needed. Next is the historical. Under the water pollution, historically tragedies like Minamata disease and Itay-Itay disease caused by mercury and cadmium poisoning triggered sweeping reforms, including the Water Pollution Control Law in 1970. These examples show the importance of monitoring, regulation, and community action in protecting Japan's freshwater future. So for our next presenter, let's have Rael Salazar.
Good day, everyone. I'm Andre Chesterral V. Salazar. Today, I'll be presenting an overview of soil types and their agricultural impact in Japan, highlighting how geography and land use shapes sustainability and emissions. Let's begin with the major soil type and their distribution. Japan's varied topography and climate have resulted in a diverse range of soils. The three main types are brown forest soils, making up to 33% of the land, are mostly found in hilly and mountainous regions like Tohoku and Chubu. These soils are important for forest ecosystems. Andosols comprising of 30%, which are volcanic ash soils found in the mountainous areas of Honshu and Kyushu. They're known for high fertility, good drainage, and strong water retention, making them an excellent for upland crops like tea and vegetables. Fluvic soils. Around 14% occur in river valleys and plains, especially where rice paddies are found, and their water holding capacity is ideal for rice cultivation. Other soil types like podzols, clay soils, regosols, and eutrosols though limited in agricultural use, still play a crucial role in supporting natural ecosystems. Moving to agricultural land use. Only 11% of Japan's total land is used for agriculture due to its mountainous terrain. Within this limited area, fluvic soils account for 47%, supporting extensive rice farming. Adosols cover 29%, mostly used for upland and crops. The remaining 24% consist of mixed soil types and used based on terrain and climate. This extensive use of small amount of land highlights the need for sustainable soil management to prevent erosion, preserve fertility, and ensure long-term productivity. Lastly, let's look at soil-based greenhouse gas emissions. While CO2 emissions from soils are minimal, agriculture contributes 48% of Japan methane emissions, mostly from flooded rice paddies, and 27% of nitrous oxide emissions are due to nitrogen-based fertilizers. This figure shows the environmental cost of intensive farming, emphasizing the importance of soil smart climate practices. Solutions include water efficient irrigation, better fertilizer use, and maintaining soil organic matter to reduce emissions and enhance sustainability. Thank you for your attention. Let's have Enzo Ong.
Thank you, Pearl, for that wonderful report. Today I'm going to report. By the way, I am Enzo Ong, and today I'm going to report about noise pollution in Japan. Japan, a nation of peace and paradox, known for temples and gardens symbolizing peace, but also among the noisiest nations globally according to World Health Organization 2018. Urbanization and industrial activities contribute significantly. Noise pollution impacts hearing loss, heart disease, sleep disruption. Japan have low noise transportation innovation. Promotion of hybrid and electric vehicles, development of soundproof rail tracks. Example is the Shinkansen bullet train designed for minimal noise. Imagine how fast a bullet train is and it just sound a little bit. Impact and effectiveness. Despite rising vehicle use, vehicle noise has decreased from 1971 to 2001. Ongoing improvements due to strict enforcement and innovation. Example are reduced noise from tires, engine, and exhaust systems. In Japan, they also engage in research and public engagement. Government invests in soundproofing tech and construction methods. Public education campaigns on health risks of noise, choosing quieter appliances, appliances, and responsible noise behavior at home and in public. That is all for my report. Thank you. And the next reporter will be Pearl Bagadjong.
Hi, I'm Pearl, and today I will discuss major activities causing environmental pollution with impact on human health. One of Japan's most infamous environmental tragedies is the Manata disease, which occurred in the 1950s due to mercury dumped into the sea by a chemical factory. Thousands of people were poisoned after eating contaminated fish, resulting in severe neurological damage. Another case is Itai-Itai disease, caused by cadmium from mining waste entering rice fields. Victims, mostly women, suffered extreme bone pain and kidney failure. In urban areas, air pollution from motor vehicles led to increased asthma and skin problems in children. Thanks to stricter emissions controls, levels of nitrogen dioxide and particulate matters have dropped, leading to measurable health improvements. Marine pollutions remain an ongoing concern, with microplastic and heavy metals like arsenic accumulating in seafood, posing risks of hormone disruption and long-term health issues. In the 1990s, Japan's reliance on waste incineration caused high levels of dioxins, harmful chemicals linked to cancer and immune disorders. While modern technology has reduced emissions, old incineration sites still spark public concern. Agricultural runoff is another issue. Excessive use of fertilizers has led to nitrate pollution in drinking water, which can cause blue baby syndrome. Pesticides and heavy metals are also threatening soil and food safety. Lastly, the Fukushima nuclear disaster in 2011 exposed many to radiation, especially children who developed thyroid issues. The disaster also triggered widespread psychological distress and stigma. Even today, Japan faces scrutiny for releasing threatened radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean, raising both environmental and public health concerns. Hi, I'm Pearl, and today I will discuss key environmental agencies. This is the key environmental agencies in Japan. The first one is the Ministry of the Environment, National Institute for Environmental Studies, Japan Meteorological Agency, Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism, Japan Water Research Center, and lastly, Japan Environmental Storage and Safety Corporation. Japan addresses the link between environmental quality and public health through a network of specialized agencies. For air pollution, the Ministry of the Environment or MOE sets standards and policies. The National Institute for Environmental Studies conducts scientific research, while the Japan Meteorological Agency provides real-time monitoring and forecasts. To tackle water pollution, MOE sets regulations and promote clean technologies. The Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism oversees water infrastructure, and the Japan Water Research Center focuses on water treatment innovation. Regarding soil pollution, MOE enforces cleanup laws and risk assessment, while JASCO ensures the safe disposal of hazardous substances. Finally, for noise pollution, MOE sets noise limits and helps local government reduce urban noise exposure. Together, these agencies work to protect both environmental and human health through data driven policies and coordinated efforts.
Good day, I'm Cedric Dumashan and let's discuss the efforts by the government in addressing pollution problems. Japan's journey toward environmental sustainability is a compelling example of transformation driven by crisis. Following the severe pollution and health disasters that accompanied its post war industrial boom, the country took decisive action. Japan implemented strict environmental laws, launched innovative programs, and engaged in international cooperation. As a result, it is not only improved its domestic environmental conditions but also contributed significantly to global sustainability efforts. A robust environmental management system was established, supported by these laws and policies to reduce pollution, safeguard public health, and promote long term sustainable development. Now, let's discuss the policies, regulations, relevance under air pollution. First is the Air Pollution Control Act of 1968, designed to reduce harmful emissions from factories, power plants, and vehicles. It regulates pollutants like sulfur oxides and particulate matter, ensuring industries use pollution control equipment and meet emission limits to protect human health and air quality. Next is the Environmental Quality Standards of 1969, establishes nationwide acceptable levels of air pollutants like NO2, SO2, and PM10. These standards serve as targets for both industries and local governments to ensure cleaner and safer air for the pollution. Next is the Automobile NOx and PM Law of 2001, aims to reduce nitrogen oxide and particulate matter emitted by diesel vehicles, particularly in crowded urban areas. It also promotes cleaner vehicle technology and restricts older, high emissions vehicles from operating in designated zones. Next is the Basic Environmental Law of 1993, acts as the foundation of all modern environmental laws, including air pollution policies. It outlines the government duty to ensure a clean air environment through comprehensive plans and cooperation among agencies. Lastly, for our air pollution is the Global Warming Countermeasures Act of 1998, focuses on reducing greenhouse gases emissions but also indirectly help air quality by encouraging renewable energy, energy efficiency, and sustainable transport system. Now let's have the policies, regulations, and relevant laws under water pollution. First is the Water Pollution Control Act of 1970, a key law that regulates the discharge of harmful substances into rivers, lakes, and seas. It requires factories and households to treat wastewater before releasing it and includes penalties for illegal dumping or pollution incidents. Next is the Sewage Act of 1958, aims to develop modern sewage systems that prevent contamination of water sources and improve sanitation, especially in urban areas. It ensures the collection and treatment of domestic wastewater. Next is the Lake Water Quality Conservation Act of 1984. This law created to control water pollution in lakes, particularly from nutrient overload like phosphorus and nitrogen, which causes algal blooms and disrupts aquatic life. Next is the River Environment Improvement Act of 2000, encourages the restoration and maintenance of healthy river systems, supporting biodiversity, water purification, and local community needs through plan development and conservation efforts. Lastly, also is the Basic Environmental Law of 1998 supports the integrated management of water resources, ensuring that policies on water use, conservation, and pollution control are aligned under national environmental goals. Next, let's have the policies, regulations, and relevant laws under soil pollution. First is the Soil Contamination Countermeasures Act of 2003 protects public health by identifying, reporting, and cleaning up contaminated land, especially in industrial and urban areas. It ensures proper assessment before land is used for housing or agriculture. Next is the Waste Management and Public Cleansing Act of 1970, aims to prevent illegal dumping of hazardous and industrial waste which can contaminate soil and groundwater. It also ensures proper treatment, recycling, and disposal of solid waste. Next is the Agricultural Land Soil Pollution Prevention Law of 1970. It protects farmland by monitoring heavy metals like cadmium and pesticides that can accumulate in soil and harm crops, animals, and people also. It provides guidelines for cleaning up and safe farming. Lastly is the Basic Environmental Law of 1993. It promotes sustainable land use and environmental rehabilitation, supporting long-term land health and productivity. So now let's have the policies, regulations, and relevant laws under the noise pollution. First is the Noise Regulation Law of 1968, controls noise from factories, construction sites, and traffic by setting time-based and area-specific noise limits. It also aims to minimize disturbances in residential and sensitive area. Next is the Vibration Regulation Law of 1976. It addresses harmful vibrations from heavy machinery and construction work, protecting nearby residents and infrastructure from structural damage and discomfort. Next is the Environmental Quality Standards for Noise of 1971. It provides reference levels of acceptable noise during day and night. This also helps urban planners and local governments design noise control measures. Lastly, of course, is the Basic Environmental Law of 1993. It reinforces the importance of the peaceful living environment, integrating noise control with overall environmental quality objectives. So let's have now the programs, project, and interventions. Japan has launched a variety of government programs and projects to fight pollution and protect public health. These efforts include laws, technologies, and public education, showing Japan's commitment to environmental sustainability. Under air pollution, we have Automobile NOx and PM Law program. It reduces nitrogen oxide and particulate matter from diesel vehicles by regulating vehicle types and uses. Next is the promotion of low emission vehicles, and it encourages the use of hybrid, electric, and fuel cell vehicles through subsidies and tax incentives. Under water pollution, we have the total pollutant load control system. It limits pollutant discharge like nitrogen and phosphorus into enclosed water bodies. We have also the sewerage development program or project. It improves wastewater treatment facilities in urban areas to reduce domestic and industrial pollutants. Next, under soil pollution is the Soil Contamination Countermeasures Program. It investigates and remediates contaminated sites to protect public health. Next is the urban redevelopment and brownfield revitalization projects. It cleans up the polluted lands for safe reuse and sustainable development. Under noise pollution, we have the Environmental Noise Monitoring and Control Program. It monitors level and enforces regulations across urban and residential area. Lastly, we have the Road Traffic Noise Reduction Program. It uses sound barriers and better road designs to reduce traffic-related noise. So let's hear more from Sanjay Pinto about the analysis on the adequacy of government actions.
I am Sanjay and I will discuss about the analysis of the adequacy of government actions. During its rapid industrialization from the 1950s to the 1970s, Japan faced serious environmental crises, including Minamata disease and Yokkaichi asthma, caused by unchecked pollution. These tragedies sparked public demand for reform and led the government to build one of the most comprehensive environmental management systems globally. To address the situation, Japan passed major laws such as the Air Pollution Control Act in 1968, Water Pollution Control Act in 1970, and the Basic Environment Law in 1993. These were followed by other policies like the Soil Contamination Countermeasures Act in 2003 and the Automobile NOx and PM Law in 2001, targeting both traditional and emerging sources of pollution. Japan's success is due to a multi-tiered approach, national laws, local implementation, public participation, and strong enforcement. Programs like the Polluted Site Management Program, noise control measures, and urban land rehabilitation show how government, businesses, and communities work together. Despite progress, challenges remain, including enforcement gaps, legacy pollution, and urban noise. However, Japan's continued investment in green technology, public education, and environmental research shows its lasting commitment to sustainability. Its experience offers valuable lessons for other industrialized nations, balancing economic growth with environmental protection. For our next presenter, let's have Pearl.
Hi, I'm Pearl, and I will discuss recommendations on what technology and other management approaches should be applied to address the gap. To address Japan's environmental challenges, adopting smart technologies is essential. Tools like geographic information system, satellite monitoring, and artificial intelligence can track urban growth and monitor fragile ecosystem in real time. Given Japan's vulnerability to natural disasters such as typhoons and earthquakes, early warning system powered by machine learning can help provide crucial lead time for evacuation and disaster response. Japan should also expand the use of renewable energy sources like offshore wind farms, hydrogen fuel cells, and solar panels integrated into the power grid to lessen dependence on fossil fuels and support long-term sustainability. Alongside technology, Japan must strengthen environmental governance by involving local communities and improving coordination between prefectures. Issues like biodiversity loss, urban heat, and poor waste management can be addressed through nature based solutions such as urban forests, wetland rehabilitation, and marine protection. A circular economy approach involving industries, households, and municipalities will also ensure sustainable production, and waste reduction. To make these strategies work, Japan should invest in training for local officials and scientists, promote public awareness, and include sustainability in school curricula. Lastly, expanding global partnership will help Japan adopt best practices and meet its long-term environmental goals. That's all, and for our next reporter, let's have Cedric Dumashan.
Good day, I'm Cedric Damashan and let's discuss the Japan's role in global environmental leadership. Japan, known for its advanced technology and strong economy, plays a key role in addressing global environmental challenges by sharing its past experiences with pollution, participating in international agreements, providing aid, and exporting green technologies. Japan aims to support sustainable development and prevent similar issues in developing countries. So now let's discuss the Japan's participation in global environmental agreements. Japan has played an important role in global environmental leadership. As early as 1984, it sponsored the Brundtland Commission, which introduced the idea of sustainable development to the world. In 1997, Japan became a key initiator of the Kyoto Protocol, a major agreement to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Japan also actively participated in drafting the Paris Agreement at COP21 in 2015. At COP 2026 in 2021, Japan pledged 6.5 trillion yen or about $10 billion to support climate efforts and adoption from 2021 to 2025. They also promised to double their climate adoption funds. In the same conference, Japan helped push forward the Paris Rulebook, especially Article 6, which creates rule for carbon credit trading among nations. Lastly, at the G20 Osaka Summit in 2019, Japan introduced the Osaka Blue Ocean Vision, aiming to eliminate marine litter by 2050. Through the Marine Initiative, Japan continues to support waste management and innovation in ASEAN countries. Next, let's have the Overseas Development Assistance or ODA for environmental projects. Japan's overseas development assistance plays a big role in its international environmental contributions. This aid is managed by JICA or the Japan International Cooperation Agencies and JBIC, the Japan Bank for International Cooperation. In the 1990s, Japan significantly increased its funding to support environmental efforts like agroforestry, pollution control, and renewable energy. As part of the Minamata Convention in 2013 rather, Japan allocated $2 billion to help five countries reduce mercury pollution. Other funded projects include hybrid power systems in the Pacific Islands, wind farms in Brazil, and biodiversity conservation efforts in Indonesia. Japan also pledged $3 billion to the Green Climate Fund to support global climate mitigation projects such as solar and hydropower in Chile and the Maldives. From 2022 to 2023, around 67% of Japan bilateral ODA was focused on environment. These projects support climate adaptation, waste to energy, clean water, and even city-to-city cooperation to share sustainable development or solution across countries. So next, let's have the technological exports for environmental solution. Japan is global leader in green technology and environmental research with high spending on R&D, especially in advanced energy solutions like natural gas and methane hydrate extraction. Japan also ranks among the top countries in the OECD for the number of green tech patents per capita, showing its innovation in environmental solution. In 2023, Japan launched the Joint Crediting Mechanism or the JCM to promote green technology exports and partner with 17 countries in Asia, Africa, and the Pacific. This mechanism allows Japan to support clean projects abroad and count the emission reduction towards its climate targets under the Paris Agreement. More than 540 green projects and studies have been implemented under the JCM in sectors such as renewable energy, energy efficiency, and waste management. Companies like Marubeni, Toyota Chusho, and GFE Engineering are delivering solutions like lighting, LED lighting, efficient air conditioning, recycling, and renewable energy plants, especially in countries like Vietnam and the Philippines. In fact, JICA is helping fund a $1.5 billion projects in the Philippines to address flood risk and climate adaptation, further showing Japan's leadership in technological and environmental cooperation. So now, let's hear more from Ral Salazar about the climate change and natural disasters of Japan.
Good day, everyone. I am Andre Chester Albi Salazar. Today, I'll be discussing impacts of climate change in Japan, a nation that is already experiencing serious environmental and social consequences. Let's begin with rising temperatures and heat waves. Since the 1900s, Japan's average temperature has increased by 1.26 degrees Celsius, which is above the global average. This warming has led to frequent and severe heat waves, such as the one in 2018, which caused over 1,000 deaths. The elderly, who make up around 30% of the population, are especially vulnerable. Next, we face serious coastal risk and sea level rise. Sea levels are projected to rise up by 60 centimeters by the 21st century, according to Japan's Ministry of the Environment. This threatens the fisheries coastal communities like Tokyo Bay and Okinawa and causes erosion and saltwater intrusion, putting both livelihoods and ecosystems at risk. We are also seeing increased typhoons and flooding. Warmer oceans waters fuel stronger and more destructive storms. A prime example is Typhoon Hagibis in 2019, which cost over 15 billion in damages and claimed more than 90 lives. Agriculture and biodiversities are being affected as well. In regions like Tohoku and Kyushu, rice yields and quality are declining due to extreme weather. Meanwhile, in Okinawa, coral bleaching is accelerating and habitat loss is threatening both coastal and alpine species. In response, Japan has taken action with policy initiatives. The government has pledged carbon neutrality by 2050. Efforts include climate resilient infrastructure, carbon pricing, green urban design, and improved systems like heat alert and early warning networks. In summary, Japan's climate challenges are complex and growing, but through policy, innovation, and adaptation, the nation is working toward a more resilient and sustainable future. Let's have Cedric.
Good day, I'm Cedric Damashan, and let's discuss the natural disasters of Japan and their health and environmental effects. Japan experiences frequent natural disasters such as earthquakes, tsunamis, typhoons, volcanic eruptions, and landslides because of its location on the Pacific Ring of Fire. These disasters bring both immediate and long term effects on human health and the environment. On the health side, people suffer from injuries, drowning, burns, and even respiratory problems due to ash. Mental health issues like stress and traumas are also common after disasters. In evacuation centers or flooded areas, diseases can spread quickly because of poor sanitation. Environmentally, disasters lead to serious damage. Floods destroy homes and farmlands. Landslides cause of deforestation, and ash or debris pollutes the air and water. Events like the 2011 Great East Japan earthquake even caused radioactive contamination that affected both land and sea. In response, the Japanese government focuses on strong disaster preparedness, including warning systems, evacuation planning, and emergency facilities. They also work on restoring the environment after disasters, ensuring both public safety and ecological recovery. For our next presenter, let's have the let's have him Sanjay Pinto.
I am Sanjay and I will discuss about the Japan's climate action policy. Japan's ongoing efforts to combat climate change through a series of strong climate action policies. Japan is committed to achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. aiming to become a low carbon society through bold, long term strategies which focuses on reaching net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. This involves shifting to renewable energy and improving energy efficiency. By 2030, Japan also aims to cut emissions by 46% compared to 2013 levels as part of its nationally determined contributions or NDC under the Paris Agreement. To meet these goals, the government is actively promoting renewable energy, especially solar and wind power, by offering subsidies and incentives for green energy projects. In addition, Japan is advancing energy efficiency initiatives to reduce waste and improve industrial sustainability. Japan is not only focused on mitigation but also on climate adaptation, investing in infrastructure resilience and disaster preparedness to reduce the impacts of climate related events. In 2023, Japan introduced new policies to accelerate the transition to a low carbon economy, including investments in green technologies and promoting sustainable practices across various sectors. These efforts reflect Japan's serious commitment to both climate mitigation and adaptation, with a clear focus on international cooperation and long term sustainability. For our next presenter, let's have Enzo.
Disaster risk reduction of Japan. I am Enzo Ong and I'm going to report about it. Japan's disaster risk reduction approach. Why DRR is crucial in Japan. Highly prone to earthquakes, tsunamis, typhoons, floods, and landslide. Climate change intensifies frequency and severity of disasters. Disaster Countermeasures Basic Act of 1961. Central Disaster Management Council chaired by the Prime Minister itself. Structural measures. Earthquake, they have resistant buildings. Tsunami walls, flood controls. Eco-DRR, green infrastructure like forests, rice paddies, and coastal exchange. Climate integration and global impact. Integrating climate change with DRR. DRR plus climate action equals to adaptive recovery. Ibig sabihin, mabilis na pag-recover. Recognizes climate change as a climate crisis. Broader impacts of Japan's DRR model. Protects lives, livelihoods, and infrastructure. Supports sustainable development aligned with SDGs. Ensure economic stability through cost-effective preparedness. Leads international cooperation via JICA. Promotes resilient and adaptive societies.
Good day, Zong. I am going to report about the role of Japan Meteorological Agency, core functions and system. Comprehensive role in disaster and climate response, not just weather forecasting. GMA supports DRR, climate monitoring, and public safety. Their key operations are observation and monitoring. In atmosphere, weather they use weather radars, AME-DAS, Himawari satellites. In oceans, they use sea temperature levels, carried via bodies, ships. In seismic and volcanic, they use dense network, monitor quakes and volcanoes. In climate, they track gases, global warming trends or WDCGG. They have advanced analysis and forecasting like supercomputers run NWP model for weather or climate simulation. Focus on El Nino or La Nina, extreme weather, and long-term projects. They also publish climate reports, support global efforts like IPCC. GMA's impact, warnings, policy, and public safety. National Warning Authority, multi-hazard alerts like typhoons, tsunamis, quakes, and volcanic eruptions. Emergency warnings for catastrophic events. Disseminated via TV, radio, mobile alerts, web, and government networks. They also have supporting resilience and policy, enables early evacuation and response, informs infrastructure and land use planning, builds public awareness and disaster preparedness culture, provides scientific basis for climate adaptation, contributes globally via WMO, supports developing countries. That is all for my report. Thank you. And the next reporter will be Pearl Bagajong. Pearl, it's your time to shine.
Hi, I'm Pearl, and today I will be discussing recommendations for sustainable environmental management. Strengthening multi-level governance. Japan's environmental governance works through strong coordination between national and local governments. National ministries sets broad strategies like the Basic Environment Plan, while local governments adapt these to regional needs. Legal reforms have given municipalities more control over key areas like urban planning and environmental monitoring. With support from the central government, they lead grassroots actions such as anti-idling ordinances and local climate plans. What makes Japan's model effective is active public participation. Citizens, NGOs, and business owners are involved in shaping policies. This inclusive approach combined with cross sector integration helps Japan stay aligned with its sustainability goals. And for our next reporter, let's have Sanjay Bito.
I am Sanjay and I will discuss about promoting environmental education and awareness. Japan is recognized as a global leader in environmental education, teaching sustainability from a young age through hands-on activities, field trips, and deep cultural respect for nature. Programs like the Green Schools Initiative promote energy efficiency, waste reduction, and eco-friendly practices in schools, helping students become lifelong environmental advocates. Beyond schools, the concept of Motanai encourages communities to reduce waste and protect resources through cleanup drives and recycling. Japan also engages the public through workshops and campaigns such as the Eco Model City Initiative and plays an active role in global environmental efforts like the UN climate change conferences. By combining education, community action, and international cooperation, Japan sets a strong example in building a more sustainable future. For our next presenter, let's have Ryle.
Good day, everyone. I'm Andre Chester Albi Salazar. Japan enforces strict extended producer responsibility laws, especially for appliances, vehicles, and electronics. Manufacturers must take back and recycle their products, reducing landfill waste and promoting sustainable production cycles. On top of that, mandatory waste sorting is practiced nationwide. Some communities sort garbage into 45 different categories, like Kamikatsu, a town leading to zero waste movement. Citizens actively participate in this process, reflecting a national culture of discipline and environmental responsibility. Around 70% of Japan's waste is incinerated. 80% of that includes energy recovery, converting waste into usable power. A great example is the Maishima plant in Osaka, a colorful high-tech incineration facility that doubles as a tourist attraction and education center. Japan also boasts impressive recycling rates. Over 85% of PET bottles and more than 90% of aluminum cans are recycled. This is supported by clear systems and strong community involvement. The concept of moitanai, meaning what a waste, reinforces the habit of reusing and repairing rather than throwing things away. Japan's Circular Economy Vision 2020 is also backs repair, recycle, and reuse, especially in the electronics and consumer goods sectors. However, challenges remain. Japan produces over 9 million tons of plastic waste per year. To address this, a 2022 law was enacted to reduce single plastics, targeting businesses and consumers alike. Japan's approach to waste powered by policy, people, and culture offers a practical model for the world. Through TRs, EPR laws, and deep-rooted mindset of Moitanai, Japan turns waste into opportunity. Let's have Pearl.
Hi, I'm Pearl, and I will be discussing enhancing international cooperation. To address environmental challenges that go beyond national borders, Japan takes a proactive stance in enhancing international cooperation. As a key player in global treaties like the Paris Agreement and the Convention on Biological Diversity, Japan contributes not just in policy but also in funding, particularly through agencies like the Japan International Cooperation Agency. In 2023, Japan launched the Clean Cities Partnership Program to support sustainable urban development worldwide. It also leads in tackling marine plastic pollutions, having introduced Osaka Blue Ocean Vision during G20 summit. Through partnership with the United Nations Environment Program, Japan supports river polluting mapping in Southeast Asia to guide cleanup strategies. Furthermore, Japan actively promotes coastal and marine governance in Asia through NOWPAP and PMESEA and facilitate clean technology sharing with other countries through the joint crediting mechanism. These initiatives reflects Japan's strong commitment to global environmental stewardship and its role in fostering sustainable development through cooperation. And for our next reporter, let's have Cedric Dumashan.
Good day, I'm Cedric Domashan and let's discuss the urban greening and biodiversity in Japan. Japan's cities are not just concrete jungles, they are designed to live in balance with nature. Through urban greening strategies and biodiversity conservation, Japan transforms dense area into livable, sustainable environments. Parks, rooftop gardens, and tree-lined streets help reduce heat, purify air, and promote mental well-being. Restoration of native ecosystems and use of local species support biodiversity even in crowded cities. These efforts are deeply tied to Japanese cultural values of living harmoniously with nature. Both government and local communities work together, blending modern planning with traditional practices to make cities greener and more resilient. So, next is the example of urban greening and biodiversity. Let's have Nakanoshima Park in Osaka. It is a green gem in the heart of Osaka, blending nature and culture. This historical park provides not only scenic beauty but also supports biodiversity through its expansive rose garden. With over 3,700 bushes and seasonal floral displays, it attracts both wildlife and people year round. The park serves as a model of integrating nature in city spaces while preventing public access to green areas. Next is the Tama New Town. It demonstrates sustainable suburban development, balancing house needs with environmental care. Instead of erasing nature, developers designed the town to work with it, preserving hills, forests, and rivers. Green belts and parks run through residential areas, encouraging biodiversity and offering residents healthier surroundings. This model community proves that large scale urban planning can prioritize both people and the environment also. Next is the Across Fukuoka uh, Prefectural International Hall. It is a powerful example of eco-architecture in action. Instead of occupying land, the building gives back to nature with massive step rooftop garden. This lush green space not only cools the city air but also connects to the nearby Tenjin Central Park, forming one large green network. The building proves that even in dense down areas, architecture can serve environmental goals, merging function, beauty, and sustainability. Lastly is the Satoyama Conservation Act in Kyoto and beyond. So, Satoyama areas reflect Japan's long-standing tradition of living in harmony with nature. These landscapes, shaped by generation of farmers and foresters, support biodiversity and sustainable resource use. Located near cities like Kyoto, they are not only ecological hotspots but also cultural treasure, revitalized through modern conservation efforts. Satoyama now serve as education centers, eco-tourism destinations, and proof that rural-urban synergy can protect nature while sustaining livelihoods. So, in conclusion, Japan stands as a powerful example of a nation that has achieved rapid economic and technological advancement while grappling with deep environmental consequences. Its history of industrialization and urban growth has brought prosperity but also left behind air, water, soil, and noise pollution that continue to impact both ecosystems and public health. These issues are not isolated, they are interconnected with Japan's aging population, dense urban centers, and limited natural space. The strain on natural resources and biodiversity, from deforestation to habitat fragmentation, highlights the urgent need for balanced development. Government agencies and institutions have made notable progress from disaster preparedness system to environmental protection laws. Japan's leadership in green innovation and global climate diplomacy is commendable, supported by clean technology exports and international cooperation. However, gaps remain, especially in enforcement, grassroots participation, and integrating environmental values into daily life. Moving forward, Japan must adopt a more inclusive, system based approach that strengthens local actions, promotes circular economies, and scales up urban greening and biodiversity conservation. The path to resilient lies not only in technology but in the values embraced by its people. Lastly, Japan's story offers a vital lesson. True progress is not just about growth, but about balance between economy and ecology, between present needs and future generations. As we face global environmental challenges together, Japan can be a leader not just in innovation but in sustainability. So that concludes our presentation in Japan's environmental case study. We believe that through forward thinking policies, environmental awareness, and community collaboration, Japan shows how a nation can balance progress with preservation by embracing innovation while protecting nature. Japan is not just solving environmental problems, it's shaping a future that is resilient, responsible, and sustainable. Thank you for listening for our presentation.